Hi, folks, and welcome back to Break of Throw. I'm here, Paul the Asa Nicholson. This is Primetime Matthew Edgar, and today we're going to be looking at my former pairs partner at the World Cup of Darts and all-round good guy and zookeeper here in the Portsmouth area, Simon Whitlock. So Simon's throw, over the last more than 20 years, it has evolved. It has had different paces, Matt. And at the start of his career, he used to sight his darts from the side. But over the course of time, it has changed a little bit. And it's a bit more linear these days, isn't it?
Well, like everybody's throw, isn't it? Everyone's throw sort of evolves as you sort of grow into that. And I think a lot of the changes have come down to the changes of equipment which Simon's had. We know he's a bit of a tinkerer. We know he doesn't like the traditional equipment. This is a guy who's made darts equipment out of Allen keys in his garden shed. So when you're making these changes, you're making these adjustments equipment-wise, you will sort of adapt your throw very slightly as well. And I think we've probably seen the two sort of go hand in hand over time.
Let's have a look at his throw then and see some of the idiosyncrasies from the waist up. So we are going to see this dart spin a little bit when it draws back to the beard that is most definitely feared. So before he throws, it's about coming back to a comfortable position. But I'm really glad he's using yellow flights here because it accents what he does. The flight tells us how much he's spinning the barrel in his hand.
It's not just spinning the barrel in the hand, it's also the placement of the dart in the hand as well. He pushes down on the dart before getting to that release. Now, what you tend to find, most people will just use the wrist and let the wrist come over the top with the action. Instead, he's using the fingers and he changes the angle of the point. But what's interesting is the point never goes below parallel. It always stays up because, again, when we start pushing it beyond parallel, we're going to need to start using shoulder. So he pushes it down to the point you can now accelerate through with the arm.
It's a little bit like Ian White in some regards because you're crunching the hand like this, bringing the fingers together. But you're absolutely right about the point. If it goes towards the floor, he's going to have to throw it a little bit harder, and he throws it hard enough. He's quite fierce.
Yeah, he's got one of the more firm throws, hasn't he? Which it makes you wonder how he's managed to have so much longevity because there is a lot of wrist in that action. As it comes to the highest point, he's accelerating and driving through with the wrist, and tends to be when you're doing that, you're dropping onto a joint. You're going from muscle, providing acceleration, dropping onto joint, which normally means we're going to have issues with the wrist or with the elbow.
And interestingly, when we look at the Simon Whitlock follow through on this footage, you can see that the arm is not fully extended. He's got such an amount of velocity in the throw, but the arm doesn't fully extend.
Not fully, which again is another reason as to why he's probably not had those issues, certainly with the elbow, because it's muscle to muscle is most movements and control. But darts is one of those that's a little bit different. Like most things with darts, actually, when you think about it as a technique, because how many other sports or activities or any sort of physical movement can you think of where the idea is to stand as still and as static as possible, but explode with force to propel an object? It's kind of backwards.
Yeah, shots like this, Matt, you can see that Simon is shuffling along the oche, and he does this quite often because of this angle of attack that he's got in the board. You can see that treble 20 is hit. The single 16 has got nothing to do with this step to the left. It's all about trying to avoid that very vibrant flight, isn't it?
He actually looked like he caught the flight on the way in there, actually. But now a lot of will come to the angle of entry, like you say, standing up. And it kind of gives you something to aim at as well and something to work over. You mention all the time, understand the behavior of your darts. And that is key. That really can help a player develop and go to the next level when you know how to work around darts. And we've seen players sort of adjust the way they throw a dart to suit people who have this upright angle like Simon Whitlock does. We've seen Andy Hamilton throw at the little 20. We've seen people like Darryl Gurney, Luke Littler now change the grip and move further down to affect where the balance point is of the dart so it lands flat to open up. So we're seeing a lot of evolution in the game because throwing from different positions on the oche, going to throw from different distances.
Well, explain this to me, Matt, because we all saw this dart against Andy Hamilton in a very, very tight group A situation. He's going for an 80 checkout, he gets two single 20s, and he has to hit tops with half the bed showing. Kindly give me your opinion as to how this dart sticks in.
It's probably down to the equipment that he's using. He uses quite aggressive points, as we know through time, and as has been well documented because we see the damage a lot of the times on the dartboard. But I reckon that's probably helped him out in this situation. It stayed in. Now, he's run to the board quickly. He's retrieved the darts. The rule is the dart needs to be retrieved, but we also know that the dart just needs to be disturbed or touched, because I can register a case between Michael Van Gerwen and Darren Webster at the Players' Championship event, where there was an argument about, did he retrieve the dart, did he not? And the referee said, no, he touched the dart. So you don't have to have it physically in your hand, you just have to disturb it while it's still connected to the board.
How long would that dart stay in that board, do you think, before it falls on the floor? Because quite frankly, he's made all sorts of different bits of equipment in his career. Can we classify these as anti-gravity points?
It was working, but I don't know how long it would work for, because you've got to think about the size or the hole it would have made, and then it's literally got the whole weight of the dart. And we've got to remember a dart, we might say it's 21, 23, 25 grams, but it's more than that, because that's just the barrel. The end of the flight and the stem on, that's going to add another 1 to 2 grams. You've then got all the other factors as well. So it probably had about 25, 26 grams dangling onto that one point, biting into that little bit of size. So he didn't have long. And, on some stages, this one's built really strong, but some of them you get a little bit of a wobble. I won't be surprised if on other stages, the walk to it would have disturbed it to the point it would have fell.
Yeah, good point, actually. Just before we leave you, Matt, biggest strength of Simon's throw for you? What's the biggest aspect that you look at that throw and say, that's strong?
I think it's repetition. Where if you watch Simon Whitlock play in hour 1, and if you watch him play in hour 6, so in a long day, it's the same. A lot of people may evolve. We use the terminology lazy at times, but, it's just how long the human body can repeat an action for. And I think he's got one of those that just replicates time and time again.
Longevity, and a little bit of wizardry, and you could say sometimes a little bit of luck. But was it luck? I'll leave it up to you. That was Break of Throw, and that was Simon Whitlock.
Oh, go and get it quickly!
I needed 80, obviously, to stay in the match, and I've done hit the flight, it's gone in upside down like this and clung on, which is great.
I've never seen Simon Whitlock move that fast.
To take out the 1-2-4, I knew I needed to hit it to win the group, and it went in.
Oh my word! How has he done that?
Hello, welcome along to the latest edition of the Break of Throws here at the MODUS Super Series. Myself and the asset, Paul Nicholson, are going to be delving into some of the actions of some of the players that have played here at the Live Lounge over the last 2.5 years that we have been here. Now, today we're going to have a look at Mason Whitlock, the apprentice, son of former European champion and World Cup champion Simon. Now, look, a lot of people say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree as far as Mason and his action is concerned. Is it too simple to say that or not?
Yeah, I think it probably is. If you look at the way that Simon was throwing at the start of his career compared to now, there are big differences. Throws, they have to start somewhere, but they will evolve. And I think the big thing for Mason at this point is that he's nowhere near the finished article. But that's a good thing because he's got lots to find out, and plenty of evolution with the technical side of his game is something that we will see over the next few years.
In terms of the techniques, we can have a look at a couple of clips now. Just tell us about the foundations of the throw and what's right, and maybe some of the other little quirks that come with it.
Well, Mason's very tall, like his dad, and he's very rangy. What I mean by that is the distance between the right elbow and the lower ribs. This is something that I think he will evolve with over the coming seasons. And he's trying to figure out what kind of a rhythm he wants to get with his throw. Now, initially, what he was doing when he first came here and when we first interviewed him at his house in Waterlooville is he had this prodding motion. And he was trying to figure out how many times he was going to prod in the air. So what I mean by that is if it's 1-2, that's a 2 prod. If you do that, then throw, it's a 1 prod. I think he's trying to figure out what is most comfortable. And initially, when he came here, it was a 2 prod system, but he would evolve away from this.
Is it a process you can overthink, though, at times?
Yes, it is, especially this day and age, because there are so many bits of footage available for your heroes on various networks. You might think to yourself, I want to throw like this person, or I want to throw like that person. Well, actually, what you need to do is throw the best way that you could possibly do based on how your anatomy works, because everybody's different. Being tall, being very rangy, he's got to try and figure out how compact his throw can be, because I think that's something that he can definitely move with in the future. but it definitely helps having someone who is very technically minded under the same roof.
Well, let's have a look at a few clips then and discuss the throw and the motion a little bit better of that of Mason. So we can have a look here at, as you mentioned, the prodding motion. Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, what you can see, which is a really good thing, is that both shoulder points are very, very static when the dart is thrown. However, there's just the tiniest little bit of a lean into the throw with the right-hand side. I like the fact that the left shoulder is static. That's not moving a great deal. But the distance between the dart when it's drawn back to when it's actually thrust forward, there's a little bit of range there. And I think over time, he will become more compact. Because he's so tall, he doesn't have to lean into his stance. And maybe he can benefit from standing just a little bit more upright and feeling a bit more relaxed. Because that way he'd engage less muscles in the upper body and feel a bit more relaxed. But the prod, there you can see from that footage, it is one forward motion, back and through. That is very repetitive. But I get the feeling that he's not happy with that. He'd like to have a bit more fluency and less moving parts.
I've changed my throw. I used to like kind of double dip like this and then throw. Now I've just kind of, I set, pull back like this now, and it is so much better. And it's not a major change. Grip's still the same and all that's still the same, but
Yeah.
just kind of take my time a bit more. Yeah, no, I'm playing quite well at the minute. I went through a bit of a rough patch, but probably because of the change of throw now.
He was always very open-minded to how things could progress. And it's really good to hear from Mason when he says that he is willing to find a way to simplify his throw. He's gone from what he calls a double dip, I call it a double prod. So he's prodding the dart in the air like this. But what he's also learning is that maybe eliminating that and just having one back and forward motion makes the sport easier. So that's great to hear. But I think what he will find ironing out his technique over the next few seasons is that there has to be an element of how far the dart comes back before it is thrust forward. We've seen with other players, world-class players in the past, like Colin Osborne and Devin Peterson, that if you minimize or eliminate that drawback, that can cause problems in the future. So you've got to have a somewhat tick-tock approach. So it's got to be back and through, and there's got to be enough back to get enough propulsion so the dart can actually be thrown with comfort instead of engaging the right shoulder and having to push the dart.
And I suppose one thing he has got, and I know that Mason doesn't want to always talk about this, but he does have a fantastic mentor in his dad, Simon, of whom the actions, as we've kind of mentioned before, are fairly similar. In terms of a guide, or maybe not so much a coach, but somebody that can teach in the way, how important could he be in that process? Because I suppose he'll probably see the motion that Mason's got and probably thinks, well, I can see some similarity of when I first started out.
Yeah, there are differences, big differences between Mason and Simon. It's as simple as that. But if you've got someone who is as smart as Simon is when it comes to the technique side and obviously the equipment side, use him as much as you possibly can. The biggest thing is you can't watch yourself when you're doing it. You have to look at footage, whether it's in slow motion or in real time. You can learn from watching your own throw, but ultimately, most players, even some of the best players in the world, they need somebody else to look at it with fresh eyes and give them the idea that they need to move forward.
Is this where darts is heading then, in particular? Because we've spoken about this in commentary a number of times, where analysis feels like something which is slowly but surely coming in. We see it in other sports. For football, it's an absolute given. Every single Monday after a Saturday game, the players will go in and they'll have a chat with the manager and they'll go through tapes. They'll go through every single little detail. Same in tennis, where a coach will speak to a player about certain things. They'll look at opponents and certain shots like that. Is that where players like Mason in this next generation, is that what they're going to be looking at? They'll be looking at their own intel, looking at their own data, maybe with the help of a coach or somebody that they know very well, and say, right, this is how we get from A, which is a good base, to B, which is where you become that next level player.
I think you've got to ask the top players in the world right now, how are they improving? Do you think they're just waking up in the morning, throwing darts and improving just like that? No, they're not. They're getting advice from lots of different people when it comes to nutrition, hydration, the technical aspects, the mental aspects. If you want to be the best in the world, you've got to follow the example of the best players in the world and seeing what they're doing. They are seeking the advice that they need to move forward. And as far as technical advice is concerned, we are still in the infancy of having world-class coaching worldwide. We have some great coaches in the UK and some great ones in Europe. But the thing is, you've got to understand biomechanics to be able to coach the best players in the world. Now, if Mason wants to be one of the best players in the world, you need someone who understands the anatomy of the human body, how it works under certain conditions, and so far so good, but I still see improvement with the next generation of Whitlock and more, because they will be getting the right advice, unlike previous generations.
So what differs then between him and his dad in that way? Because they're both very creative people, aren't they? They're both trying to find different ways to eke out those extra 1%.
I don't think Simon's ever been someone who would dip or double dip at all. He's always been bring the dart in from the side, give it a bit of a twist, and then throw it without extending the arm fully. It's always just short of the full extension, but he would throw it very, very hard. Mason doesn't throw the dart as hard as his dad does, but what he does do is he's trying to simplify the throw, and we've got great evidence of what is happening as he does evolve, because you don't just get a 9-darter for nothing in this building. You have to earn it.
And we're joined alongside Mason Whitlock, who's had one very good leg tonight and one almost other very good leg this evening. Many congratulations on the 9-darter. Let's go straight in with it and just sum up how you feel right now.
Honestly, I feel great. I kind of just blacked out after I hit it. I didn't even realize I hit it, but I think it was the worst thing for that match at the time. My hands were shaking, my legs went weak, and honestly, I was so nervous after that.
We'll show you that 9-darter in a sec. Well, we're going to show you the 9-darter here. It's interesting you said it, because me and Laura were saying in commentary, great the feat is. Actually doing it so early in the night could have actually had a bit of an adverse effect.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. It was, I definitely think it didn't help out the game, but I mean, it was, I said to Dad before I even came today, I said, I feel like I'm going to hit a 9-darter. And I went back and I was speaking to Lee Cox, and I said, one of us is hitting a 9-darter today, and I swear to God, you can ask him, he'll confirm it, but I said it, I don't know why, I had a feeling.
So, the 141 finish, you go your dad's way. Did he hit it in the Premier League semi-final?
Yes, yeah. I think it's the best way. 81. I'll go 15s as well. I love double 18. If you saw the double in, double out week, I'd start 18 sometimes. But yeah, I love double 18, and I think 45 is easier to hit than 57, because all you have to do is stay straight.
First time was so nice. You almost tried to do it twice.
Oh my God. The second time I was so much less nervous as well. I can't believe I missed it. That's it there, yeah? Oh my God.
Shank won it, 4 right.
Yeah, honestly, I snatched it a tad, but I was way more nervous the first time than I was then.
There was a video of him and Simon. They both hit the 9-darter the same way. Obviously, we can't show the footage of the Simon one because obviously it wasn't in our competition. It was at the Premier League. But there was a side-on-side video that somebody put on social media, and there was such a chemistry between the fact that it was basically identical, wasn't it? Completely identical in every way possible.
Well, let's face facts. Everybody ask yourself this question: why did you want to do something when you were younger? Because you wanted to make your parents proud. You know, I did things because I wanted to make my dad proud or my granddad proud of, the way I was doing things on the dartboard. So if I were to do things a certain way, it would get people's attention in my family. And I'm sure that Mason has seen that 9-darter many, many times, thinking, if I get a chance, I'd like to do it just the same way. And I know for a fact that Simon was very proud when Mason hit that first 9-darter, because it's not the only one he's hit.
Simon, something that you've done quite a lot of is hit 9-dart finishes, a couple on TV, about 9 in the PDC, plenty of, I'm sure, in practice. Probably some with Mason as well, but he's done something that you haven't, which is hit one at the Super Series. We're going to watch that back. Can you remember watching this when it happened?
I do, yes. I remember very well, because it reminded me of the one I hit in the O2.
He throws in a similar way to you as well, doesn't he? You can see the way the darts are landing, the way that he sort of stands tall with that pronounced lean forward. Is he kind of modelled himself on you?
I think he has, yeah. I'd rather he model himself off someone like Gary Anderson, because we all know he's got a beautiful throw.
And what are you thinking at this point when he's put a dart perfectly in there for a second 180 or a...
Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to get it, and just his mannerisms say he's feeling good about it.
So the 141, as you say, you've been known to go the treble 15 route. Is that something you kind of put in his head?
I guess I have. I mean, he's seen me hit a few this way, and I always say that's the easier way.
What was your reaction then when you saw it going?
That was great. I mean, I was thrilled just because he did it the same way I did on, like when I beat Andy Hamilton when I threw that one.
Amazing moment for him. In terms of his potential, how much potential do you see in him?
Yeah, he's got all the potential, and like a lot of people, they just have to work hard and put a lot of hours in.
And there might be an opportunity for you to get one yourself on the Super Series stage, maybe even to play him on the Super Series stage. How special would that be?
Well, that would be really nice to play against him on the Super Series stage, and yeah, hopefully I can pull a 9-darter myself.
Never teach anyone your own job.
Well, there we go. That is the breakdown of Mason Whitlock, the apprentice, one of the stars here at the Super Series.